before we get to number 4, I want to add to this. What's the latest we should be eating before we sleep? How many hours before?
I think this is somewhat empirical, but it seems that about 3 hours is a pretty good gap.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of an early to bed guy. So I like to be in bed, but by 9 and absolutely no later than 10. And I'm kind of trying to be done by about 6, which again is,
Gotcha.
I can do that most nights. And if I, maybe one night a week, I'm going to be eating within an hour and a half of bed. But
Right.
I clearly see a difference in the parameters that I pay attention to, like heart rate and heart rate variability and temperature overnight, because those things all move in the wrong direction with a meal.
If you eat a healthy meal, let's say an hour before bed, I'm talking about grains and lean meat and healthy stuff, or if you eat pizza an hour before bed, are they both going to impact your ability to sleep better, or is the quality of the food before you go to bed matter?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The short answer is yeah, it does matter. So the probably the two things that would have the greatest determination would be the simplicity the simplicity of the carbohydrates or the glycemic load, because that's going to impact the sort of glycemic roller coaster you go on at night. And then probably the amount of protein, because that has a greater contribution to what's called the thermogenic effect of food. So the thermogenic effect is how much does your body temperature actually rise to digest the food. Our bodies want to be very cold at night. So
Yes.
anything you do that opposes that leads to lousy sleep.
So what foods help you sleep better, that keep you colder? What are those foods? Whether it's an hour before or 3 hours before.
Yeah, honestly, it's like almost anything you're going to eat is going to come with something that's going to slightly raise your temperature. So I just generally say try to not eat too much before bed. And I go out of my way to avoid the two things that I think are worse. So I just say I wouldn't have huge protein before bed, and I don't want to have anything that's going to raise my blood sugar before bed. So, I'd have an avocado before bed. I'd have, something that's like, I just generally don't eat before bed.
The body really rewards you in terms of if you wait or if you don't eat right before bed, is it going to sleep better, sleep deeper, be cooler, and therefore help you have more energy the next day if you don't eat before bed?
Yeah, and this is, at least for me, been most easy to exhibit, and I think many of my patients would agree during periods of fasting. So
Yeah.
fasting is kind of a funky state because you're altering so many other things in the physiology. But one of the things that happens, especially by about the second day of a water only fast, is you really are seeing the impacts of what deep sleep can look like in a state that is totally absent food, and it's very interesting because you're competing with two forces, one that's keeping you awake and one that's helping you sleep a lot deeper. The one that's keeping you awake is cortisol. You have more of it. You have more stress hormones when you're fasting, because that's the thing from a prehistoric standpoint that would have been going on, right? Fasting would trigger a signal that says, go get more food, right?
Be alert, be focused.
Be alert, go get food. Like, we don't want to die. And so that's kind of keeping you awake. But the flip side of that is the total absence of nutrient is allowing you to get into this amazing sleep, and your body temperature is really going down because your body's turning down its metabolism. So I actually find fasting sleep to be some of the most amazing physiology, because I'm watching this plummeting temperature, rising heart rate variability, falling heart rate, all of these really valuable things, but a little bit of rising cortisol that can lead to shorter sleep times. But I still feel quite, rejuvenated by sleep.